All right, so are you ready to really get a handle on English idioms?
I think we're ready to dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Today we are going
Yeah, let's unlock these secrets.
deep into English idioms with help from the podcast Mastering English with Ease and an episode all about
I like that podcast.
idioms
That's a good one.
called Unlocking the Secrets of English Idioms. The hosts are Jake and Hazel, and they're going to help us unlock the secrets to sounding
Yeah, Jake and Hazel are great.
more fluent and natural in English.
For sure. And they really hit on something I think a lot of people don't realize, which is just how often native English speakers use idioms
Oh, yeah.
without even realizing it.
I know it's true. It's like they just roll right off the tongue.
Exactly. And they really are key to understanding English-speaking cultures and just communicating more naturally.
It's like a cheat code for sounding more like a native speaker.
Totally agree. It's like sometimes I'll hear an idiom and think,
Yeah.
wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense,
Yep.
literally. But then you learn the meaning, and it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
that's what they meant.
Exactly. And those aha moments are what we're going to focus on today. So let's start by understanding
Okay.
what idioms actually are.
Right. Lay it on me.
Well, Jake and Hazel give a really simple definition in the podcast.
Okay.
An idiom is a phrase with a meaning that goes beyond the literal meanings of the individual words.
Gotcha. So give me an example, something I can use to impress my friends.
Okay, how about spill the beans?
Spill the beans.
Now, this obviously doesn't mean that you're literally knocking over a bowl of beans.
Okay, so then what does it mean?
It means to reveal a secret.
Oh,
So you could say, come on, spill the beans. What did you get her for her birthday?
that's a good one. I can totally see myself using that.
Right. You see, idioms are powerful tools.
They are. And I bet you once I start paying attention, I'll hear them everywhere.
You absolutely will.
Okay, so Jake and Hazel went through a bunch of common idioms, and one that I thought was really interesting was a blessing in disguise.
Oh, that's a good one.
What's the deal with that?
So this idiom is used to describe a situation that seems bad or unlucky at first, but then turns out to have a good outcome.
Oh, so, like, give me an example.
Okay, so imagine missing your flight.
I hate it when that happens.
At first, you're totally frustrated, right?
Yeah.
But what if missing that flight means that you avoid a massive delay or even some kind of dangerous situation?
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, missing that flight becomes a blessing in disguise?
Okay, yeah. So it's like finding the silver lining.
Exactly. And this idiom, I think, reflects something interesting about American culture, which is this focus on finding the positive, even in difficult situations.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's like, it's not just learning the phrase, it's understanding, like, the cultural mindset behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what other gems did Jake and Hazel share with us?
Okay, well, one that really stood out to me was bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet.
Oh.
I have a feeling I'm going to be using this one a lot.
It's a good one. It's perfect for those times when you just have to face something unpleasant or difficult.
Okay, break it down for me. What does it actually mean?
Okay, so bite the bullet is a metaphor. We
Right.
talked about metaphors being key to idioms.
Yeah.
So it's not about actual bullets.
Okay, good.
But think about this. Back in the day, before anesthesia was common,
Oh.
soldiers might have been given a bullet to bite on during painful medical procedure.
Ouch.
Right, exactly. So the idiom bite the bullet kind of evolved to mean facing a difficult situation head on, even if it's unpleasant, just like those soldiers.
I get it. It's like when I have to clean out my overflowing closet.
Yeah,
It's not fun, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and do it.
exactly. Or maybe having that tough conversation you've been putting off.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about taking action even when it's uncomfortable.
Okay, bite the bullet is going straight into my vocabulary arsenal.
Awesome.
What about when it's someone else's turn to make a move? Is there an idiom for that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that actually reminds me of another idiom that Jake and Hazel mentioned.
Okay.
It's perfect when you need someone else to step up. And that is, the ball is in your court.
Ooh, that sounds sporty.
It does, right?
Okay, explain it like I'm 5.
Okay, so imagine you're playing tennis. If the ball is in your court, it means it's your turn to hit it back.
Okay.
So in real life, off the tennis court, it's a way of saying, I've done my part. Now it's your turn to act.
Okay, I'm following you.
So let's say you've sent a job application. You've done everything you can, and now it's up to the employer to decide whether to call you for an interview.
So I could say the ball is in their court to mean I'm waiting for them to respond.
Exactly. It's a polite way to pass the responsibility.
I like that.
But it can also be used to express a sense of frustration if someone is taking too long to make a decision.
Ah, so it's subtle but
Yeah.
effective.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, so we've talked about Facing challenges, passing responsibility.
Mhm.
What about those times when things are just plain expensive?
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. For that, we have cost an arm and a leg.
Cost an arm and a leg. I've definitely heard that one before,
Remember?
but I never really thought about what it means.
So it's a humorous way
That's
to
great.
express that something is ridiculously expensive.
You mean like when I try to buy concert tickets these days?
Exactly. Or maybe rent in a big city, or even just a cup of coffee
Oh, yeah, should
at
be.
some fancy cafes.
It's that feeling of, is this really worth it?
It's true. And the imagery is so vivid, right? You can almost feel the pain of losing an arm and a leg
Yeah.
just to afford something.
It definitely makes an impact. Okay, so we've learned some seriously cool idioms so far.
We have.
But how do I actually start using these in my everyday conversations? It feels a little bit daunting.
I know what you mean, but don't worry. Jake and Hazel have some great tips for that,
Okay, good.
which we'll dive into next.
Okay, because I'm already starting to feel like I need to bite the bullet and put some of these idioms into practice.
That's the spirit. It really is like anything new you learn. You know, it might feel a little awkward at first,
Oh, for sure.
but with practice, it becomes second nature. And Jake and Hazel suggest starting small.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You don't have to memorize like a whole dictionary of idioms overnight.
Oh, thank goodness.
Just pick maybe 5 or 10 that
That's-
really resonate with you.
Got it. So I've got my short list ready. What's next? Do I just start like
Not quite.
throwing them around?
It's important to pay attention to context.
Context. Okay.
So think about the situation, the tone of the conversation, who you're talking to.
Right. You wouldn't use a super informal idiom
Right.
in a formal setting.
Exactly. And it's also important, I think, to listen to how native speakers use idioms.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to how they weave them into their conversations.
So kind of learn by osmosis a little bit.
Exactly.
But what if I hear one and I don't know what it means? Should I just pretend?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Most native speakers are going to be happy to explain the meaning of an idiom,
Right.
and it's a great opportunity for you to learn and expand your vocabulary.
Okay, so start small, pay attention to context, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Exactly.
What else did Jake and Hazel say?
Well, they emphasize the importance of practicing using idioms
Got it.
in your own sentences.
Mm-hmm. Practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the real learning happens.
Right. So instead of saying like, I'm going to study really hard tonight, I could say, I'm going to burn the midnight oil.
There you go.
Perfect.
And, you know, it's not just about sounding more like a native speaker.
Yeah.
Using idioms can actually help you understand the culture better.
How so?
Well, idioms often reflect cultural values and beliefs. So take bite the bullet, for example.
Okay.
It kind of reveals something about American culture. This focus on facing challenges head on,
Right.
even if it's unpleasant.
That's a really good point. It's like a little window into the cultural psyche.
Yeah, and you know, we're focusing on English idioms, but every language has its own
Oh, really?
unique set of idioms.
I've never thought about that.
That's what makes languages so fascinating. They offer different perspectives on the world and different ways of expressing ourselves.
That makes me think of what Jake and Hazel were talking about. They pointed out that the Spanish phrase estar en las nubes is similar in meaning to the English idiom to have your head in the clouds.
Yes. It's a great example of how different languages can express similar concepts
Wow.
using different imagery.
So they both mean basically to be daydreaming or not paying attention.
Exactly.
It's amazing how languages can be so different and yet have these underlying similarities.
It is. It's a reminder that, you know, even in our differences, there are shared human experiences that connect us.
Yeah.
We might use different words and phrases, but we're often expressing the same ideas and emotions.
That's so true. And I think idioms really highlight that connection.
They do.
You know, they give you a glimpse into the way people think and feel in different cultures.
And that's what makes language learning so rewarding. It's not just about acquiring a new skill. It's about broadening your horizons
Yeah.
and understanding the world in new ways.
I couldn't agree more. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of context practicing using idioms and the cultural insights that they offer. Anything else that Jake and Hazel highlighted that might be helpful?
Well, they actually did a really fun little role play game
Oh, yeah.
to illustrate how idioms are used in everyday conversation.
I remember that. It was
Yeah.
clever. It really brought those idioms to life.
It did.
They did some short dialogues using idioms like learning the ropes and under the weather.
Exactly. So learning the ropes means to be learning the basics of a new job or activity. And under the weather means to be feeling sick or unwell.
Right. And hearing those idioms used in conversation really helped me to understand their meaning and how to use them appropriately.
For sure. It's one thing to read about idioms in a textbook. But it's a whole different ballgame when you hear them used in an actual conversation. It gives you a sense of their rhythm, their tone, their emotional impact.
So it's like the difference between reading sheet music
Yes.
and hearing the music played.
Exactly. And that's what Jake and Hazel were trying to demonstrate with their role play game.
Yeah.
They wanted to show that idioms are not just abstract concepts, they're living, breathing parts of the language.
And I think they did a fantastic job of making that point.
They did.
So what does this all mean for you, our dear listener, who is eager to master English idioms?
Good question.
What are the key takeaways from our deep dive so far?
Well, first and foremost, remember that idioms are essential for achieving fluency and sounding like a native English speaker.
They're like adding a little spice to your linguistic dish.
Yes.
But don't feel overwhelmed. Start small, focus on idioms that you find useful or interesting, and practice using them in your everyday interactions.
And remember, language learning is a journey, not a destination.
That's a good one.
So embrace the challenges, have fun with it,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I like that. And most importantly, don't forget to enjoy the process. Learning idioms can be fun and even a little bit silly sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so let's keep this momentum going.
Okay.
What other insights did Jake and Hazel offer that we can share?
All right, let's see.
You know, one thing that Jake and Hazel said that really stuck with me is that sometimes even native English speakers don't realize how often they use idioms.
It's so true. Idioms become so ingrained in our everyday language that we don't even think about it.
It's like breathing.
Exactly.
You don't think about
You just do it.
inhaling and exhaling. You just do it.
Right. So by even being aware of idioms and actively trying to incorporate them into your speech, you're already ahead of the game.
Well, that's encouraging.
It is.
It's like I have a secret weapon now
You do. You're in the know.
in my language arsenal.
That's right. As you continue on your language learning journey, I encourage you to pay attention to the idioms that you encounter in your favorite English language media.
Oh, yeah?
Movies, TV shows, books, music, you name it.
Ooh, that's a fun idea.
It's like a treasure hunt for idioms.
I like it.
And as you become more familiar with them, try using one new idiom each day.
Okay, so one new idiom a day keeps the awkward silence away.
That's right. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It's just a small step to integrate those colorful expressions into your everyday conversation.
Small steps lead to big results.
Exactly. And who knows, you might even surprise yourself with your newfound fluency and confidence.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of English idioms.
It does.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding what idioms are and why they're important, to learning how to use them effectively, and even discovering the cultural insights they offer.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And I really hope that you feel inspired to embrace that quirky, colorful side of the English language.
So go out there and start using those idioms.
Yeah, have fun with it.
You might stumble at first, but remember, even native speakers make mistakes.
That's right.
And the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Exactly. Practice makes perfect, as they say.
There you go. And hey, if you ever find yourself under the weather with all this idiom learning, just remember to bite the bullet and keep going.
Because mastering idioms is a blessing in disguise.
That's right. It might seem like a challenge at first, but the rewards are well worth it.
They are. So to our amazing listener, happy idiom hunting. And remember, the ball is now in your court. What fascinating new idioms will you discover and use today?